This is the Breakfast Leadership Podcast. Boundaries or burnout, you make the choice. Here's your host, Michael Levitt. Welcome to the Breakfast Leadership Podcast. It's Michael here, and today I've got Will Deane. Will is the leader of Unstoppable.co. It's an organization that focuses on providing clients real and measurable results by combining his awesome expertise in paid search, social media, native advertising, and comprehensive retargeting to generate a positive return on your investment. Will, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Michael. I definitely appreciate being here.
I appreciate you and having you on the show. So, social media advertising is something that my audience, which is made up of entrepreneurs and solopreneurs and leaders, it's a space where many of us just fumble around in. You know, we think we know what we're doing, and then we drop a couple $1 billion on Facebook ads, and we have somebody click on one of our leads, and someone downloads one ebook, even though we sent it out to 40 million people. So, tell us a little bit about the organization, what you guys do, and some of the big wins you've had, and maybe some of those stories that people came to you and with the Obi-Wan, you're my only hope.
Sure, absolutely. And so, the industry is always changing, right? Like, there's so many different new tricks or hacks out there, and I fell into the industry because oddly enough, I owned an e-commerce lighting company back in 2011. I ended up selling it in 2014, but it was e-commerce, so it was all online. We had a sales team in-house, but I basically had to teach myself everything from SEO to paid traffic, media buying, to Facebook ads, you name it. And throughout that process, we went to hire other agencies and different firms, and I realized that just keeping it in-house and honing that skill and becoming the best at it was, for longevity's sake or any other projects I got into, it made the most sense. And so after we sold the company, I had a lot of friends and colleagues coming to us and saying, hey, can you help us with our product? And while that was going on, I was looking for, my next project. And so we started taking on clients, and I realized, wow, I guess I need to build a company here, because a lot of people are coming out of the woodwork and asking if they can help us. And so, I'm not speaking for everybody, but a lot of these days people are building agencies to make money. And we really didn't do it for that purpose. We were helping people, and it turned into something that we decided, let's go a little bit deeper into this and build a team that's, the most badass marketing team on the planet, the way I like to put it. But so that's kind of how we formed. And, I guess some of the wins or what we're currently doing, we have a lot of e-commerce clients. Some of the more notable clients, you may or may not have heard of them, but a company called Iconic, they're pretty big. They work with, Gary Vaynerchuk, Scooter Braun. They do really, really cool canvases, motivational canvases. That's one of our bigger clients, but we're doing everything from managing the online ecosystem, paid traffic, email, search, voice, brand, design. So all the above. But it's just been a super interesting ride, especially, trying to figure out where we can fit the best with our clients.
It's awesome. And, one of those things that you paid attention when, a lot of people were asking you for things, and it created a business. Now, I think it's Dan Miller, and I could be wrong. If I am wrong, I'll correct it in the show notes. But Dan Miller, the 48 Days book, and I actually met him last weekend. It was at a conference that I was at, and I believe it was him that said, if 2 or 3 people ask you the same question on how to solve something, then you should create a product or a service around that, because it's obviously that there's demand for it. And you realized that early on and decided, okay, let's create something because there's obviously demand for it.
Yeah, no, and it was, to me, the deeper purpose was, there's definitely a demand here, but when we do launch our own brands, why not have the framework for succeeding online already? And it just made perfect sense. Instead of building an operations team or whatever else is out there, I decided to focus on building a badass marketing team. So when we do go into anything else, we have the framework to be able to, launch and be successful.
I'm a big fan of frameworks because, again, it clears out the confusion. And also, too, as you said, you don't want to reinvent the wheel, and you don't want to say, okay, well, we're launching a business, so we need to have this role and this role and this role and this role. And next thing you know, you're bankrolling all these people, and you haven't sold a thing yet. So now it's a case of, all right, what do we need at this particular moment? Now, some people say hire before you're ready, but oftentimes well, you better be pretty clear on what you actually need, because there's always, those arguments where it's like, well, I don't necessarily need to hire that role because I'm still able to accomplish what I need to do and not, work, 300 hours a day. But, again, entrepreneurs, and, I talk about a lot on the show, my biggest concern with entrepreneurs and solopreneurs is burnout. I don't want them to burn out, and once their business takes off, them be too tired or burned out to actually enjoy it. But having said that, you have to make sure that you have a business and all the marketing in place for it to be successful. And it sounds like you were able to do that early on just because of the demand that you were getting.
Yeah, so the demand was huge in helping us, be able to scale and grow, and everything was a personal referral. So we had people, hey, you got to talk to these guys, because every time we do something, I pretend like I'm the owner of the company. I don't just look at all the channels, all the paid traffic. I look at the P&L, the gross profit. We're looking at where we focusing attention, how do we create retention, just a lot of different things that go into it besides just driving eyeballs. Because that's not the only thing that matters these days. But, back to when I was building this company, it's something interesting to note, and I always tell all these entrepreneurs, is focus on what you're really, really, really good at. Double down on that. And when it comes time to build something or build a team, go to the exact opposite skill set that you don't have and hire that. And when I was building this, sure, I'm decent at sales, really good at marketing. I think I'm a good team builder. And I thought to myself, I need to find a salesperson to, get more clients. And when I was going through that process, I realized, wait a second, that's not what I need. I need somebody that's a freak of nature in organization, that structurally doesn't let anything pass. And, every email is answered, every task is assigned, operating the company, because we all like to think we're operators, but when we get handed a bunch of stuff, I personally know I'm going to drop the ball. I might be an executor, but I'll drop the ball if tons of tasks are coming at me. And so that was the first person I hired on my team. She ended up being our COO, but it was the most important hire to be able to grow the business.
Yeah, it's good that you knew which role to get, because oftentimes I think entrepreneurs will say, yep, I need that salesperson. And we all fall in love with the idea of that you're going to bring in, Zig Ziglar to come in and, just sell the pants off of everything. And you realize that you get, Zig Jones or somebody like that, maybe sold 3 or 4 things in their life, but not anything substantial. And you don't realize that until you're like, wow, yes, you've got a, briefcase full of business cards, but I'm not seeing any contracts here. What's going on? And so it reminds me of a funny story of the sports guy, Jim Rome, out in California. He talked about early in his career where he would he was doing sales for a very short period of time. And the running joke that he always talks about is, on Monday morning, you show up and you hand, you get all the prospects and all this stuff. And then you just go around to all the restaurants and you just start emptying the fish bowls of all the business cards into your briefcase. And then you land some small sale. And then, of course, the rest of the week, you're going to the movies and you're just sleeping and doing whatever. Then Friday morning, you go into the office, you hand, the boss a small contract that you were able to score. But then you open up, the briefcase full of all these business cards saying you've been prospecting like mad. Boss is like, that's the way to do it. Go ahead and, take the rest of the afternoon off. It's like, well, yeah, that's not sustainable in the sales world, but those are the types of salespeople you do not want to run into. But yeah, it's good that you found somebody that has strengths in the areas that you don't, and that's again one of those things where I think a lot of us don't necessarily know what we're good at. We think we're good at everything. I hate to break this to you people. We're not good at everything. We are great at some things and we are absolutely atrocious at others. And sometimes you have to have somebody that truly cares about you to call you out on it and say, yeah, you're not good at scheduling. So I'm just going to take that from you and you're just going to focus on these things. And,
yep.
And that way, everyone is operating in their strong suite, basically, and their sweet spot. And when everyone is operating in that space where they're working on the things that they're really good at and they actually enjoy it, it's amazing what an organization can do.
100%. It's all about the team. I always tell that to all of our clients too. The team makes or breaks the company. So you really need to double down, invest in what you're good at, and then invest in the people around you. And, you should be able to do anything. That's the way I look at it.
So if you're talking to an entrepreneur that comes to you and they've got some type of product or service that when you look at it, go, yeah, the market definitely could support this based on whatever it is. What are some of the things that you help them through as far as properly marketing it? What are some of the, the techniques that you use? I mean, obviously don't give away trade secrets or anything like that, but well, yeah, I don't want the Colonel's secret recipe on here because I'm guessing that I didn't get an NDA sent over to me before. No. So I want to make sure I don't want, tip anything off or anything like that. But what are some of the techniques that you guys do?
Well, so first and foremost, when somebody comes to us and say, hey, can you help us sell this or online or whatever it is, I look at the product and make sure they have sales history. One of the things I've learned is to really manage our time effectively with the right clients. If someone just comes to us with a product idea or they just invented a product but they don't have any validation on sales, I just don't think we're a good fit. I actually don't think any online marketing is a good fit. I think that any entrepreneur who invents a product that's not an info product, it's a physical good, needs to be able to go validate the sales process on their own. And maybe even an info product. Like you should go and sell it to somebody to know that there's a need. A lot of times entrepreneurs sit there and they make something they think there's a need for, but then they try to have somebody else sell it, whether it's online, whether it's in person, and it flops. And then someone points the finger or whatever. So I tell every business owner, before you're ready for online marketing, go and try to sell your product and make sure that it can be sold. Then you have the ability to have, a use case of like, hey, this does work. Can you use your expertise to scale it? So that's number one. Number two is I make sure that we go after the low-hanging fruit first. I think a lot of entrepreneurs or business owners, they know how to sell things their way, which is great. But with our expertise, we're able to look under the hood and see so many other opportunities. A lot of people are focusing on the front end of sales. They're just focusing on acquiring new customers. But you've already built trust and a relationship with your past customers. Depending on the product, can we make more money from our past customers? Typically, the answer is yes. The people that have already bought from you should be the people you're still selling to. But a lot of entrepreneurs and businesses focus on trying to find new people. But it really should be the 80-20 rule, really focusing on retention and then going after new people. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you own a widget company online and you have 10,000 customers and you're constantly looking to make new sales. Well, you could easily utilize your email list to start to generate more revenue from your past audience. They're already your biggest fan. So that's something I always, the second we engage with a company, I look at where can we optimize what they're currently doing? And then how do we take it a step further once we've, taken the lowest hanging fruit and optimized that to let's go find new markets. So that's step one, because those are quick wins that we're able to see a very high return on investment. The business owners always love it. And it's just things that they haven't noticed. And then we take that and we focus on driving new traffic, finding new customers and markets to go into.
I love the example you gave about validating it yourself. We've heard, and I know you have too, I'm sure clients have come to you saying, they've dropped, a chunk of change on Facebook ads. And I'm not picking on Facebook, but I'm just saying, they put a bunch of money on Facebook ads. Their targeting was all wrong. They didn't know what they were doing. They have a product that really should be marketed to 40 to 50-year-old males that are living in the Midwest, and somehow they decided that they were going to go to people that live in the South and 18 to 24, and no one's going to buy the product because you're talking to the wrong audience and you haven't done any engagement. All of a sudden they're scrolling on Facebook and boom, here's this ad for your product or service. Now, if it's something that catches their eye or raises the eyebrow test, as somebody that I know likes to say a lot, then maybe you have something that works. But oftentimes, again, it's just completely misaligned. So your comment about go out there and actually sell it yourself. Small event locally, put it out there. Sell it from the stage to a speaking event. See if anybody nibbles. Drop the price if it's something that you charge $5,000 for or $24.97. Throw it out there and see if someone will nibble at it at $9.97. If not $9.97, $4.97. If people won't pay you, $97 for it, they're certainly not going to pay $5,000 for it. So you figure that out, and it's a low cost of entry to do what a lot of people call a soft launch and see, okay, is there actually any interest in this? Because there's always in this business, I said, there's a lot of William Hungs when it comes to products and services that are being offered. Hung from, American Idol, how he made it to that point. I still don't know. You would have thought that somebody along the way would have said, Bill, you can't. We don't let you do karaoke. Why are we going to let you go on national television? But it worked out for him, so he took a tragic event and was able to monetize it somehow. You wouldn't catch me dead or alive in front of that crew trying to do some type of talent. No, thank you. Not my skill set. But that's a great thing. And it sounds like your organization does an awesome job of vetting things and not accepting every client that wants to work with you. Because again, that's another thing entrepreneurs struggle with is, they want to just work with everybody because they're looking at building their business, but they take on clients that quite frankly, they shouldn't be serving.
Yeah. I mean, it really boils down to one general idea, and that's do the hard work. And I say it like that because this day and age, every business and tool is predicated on, becoming less frictionless, right? Removing the pain to do something. So what I mean by that is when it's easy, everybody turns to it. So Facebook ads, easier to launch, outsourcing, easy, everything that I don't have to do or a business owner doesn't have to do, they're going to look for somebody else to do it. But if you're at the beginning stages of your company, do the hard things, sell it, or you're going to waste so much more money and time figuring out that you can't. And that's why it's so important as any entrepreneur that starts anything. I don't care if you're introverted or extroverted, just take your product and go find a market. If you can't do that and sell at least a decent amount of it by yourself, whether it's online or offline, then number one, you don't have the user feedback that you should have to go spend money on marketing. You really need good user feedback. And as an owner, you need to know what is wrong or right or what people love about your product to then correlate that to your marketing team. And so, everybody wants to be an entrepreneur these days. It's the new kind of thing, but you got to do the hard work. And a lot of people have stopped short of trying to do the hard work. And so I'm a big believer in putting your feet on the ground and grinding it out. Not in the, you need to work 24 hours a day, but in the, you need to prove that your product is viable before you go and try to build a team.
Yeah, it's an important lesson because I think everyone has this I don't know if it's a dream or pipe dream or vision of, okay, look at what they're doing. They're making millions. They're doing this and this. It's like, yeah, they launched that business in 1994. Or we've all heard the stories about the ones that quote unquote made it, and yeah, they were sleeping in their car, or they were trying to figure this out, working 3 jobs and trying to do this and this, and it's the 15 to 20 year overnight success. It's just gonna take time. And Dory Clark is somebody that I interviewed on the show before, and we've talked a few times on different matters. And one of the things that she mentions, especially with people that are trying to really get known in the market and all of that, and of course good marketing and advertising goes a long way. But I think, and please chime in on this, I think consistency means a lot too, as far as what the customer is prepared to do. This is not just I'll give Will a bunch of money and he'll create some ads, and then the money will start flowing in and it'll be like an ATM machine in my living room. It's like, no, there's work that still needs to be done. So I'm guessing consistency is one area that you really encourage your clients to deal with.
Yeah. So that's huge. Actually, that's the one thing I preach probably the most of anything. Nothing happens overnight. So I always advise the entrepreneurs that I know. I say, look, like, everybody is talking about the wins. Everything you see on Facebook and the news, it's only about the wins. There's not an editorial or platform out there that's just talking about losses, right? So like you mentioned, the overnight successes, that everybody sees that and they want a part of it. But what they don't really want, and I know this sounds cliche, is they don't really know they don't know the hard work that went into it, right? The 15-year success stories. And that's where actually all of the wins come from. The ones that are overnight, very, very, very rare to find. So, you have to be able to put in the work to get to where you're trying to go, and not actually just try to set up an automation machine. And back to a point on consistency, literally people try something and they walk away. But the ones who win just keep doing it over and over and over. And that's how they come to fruition. And, I'll use this example. We all know him, Gary Vaynerchuk. It's interesting. Only over the past 2 years, everybody started to really know him and see him around. But he's been doing podcasting, blogging, and getting his name out there for, I think, 12 years now. And that's the type of consistency that it takes to really make a business flourish. And so I'm right there with you that is one of the most important things to do as an owner or as an entrepreneur, is just to stay consistent, even when there's ups and downs.
Yeah, it's crucial. And it distances you from all the competition. And everybody looks at it and they go, wow, there's just so much competition. Case in point, I've written a couple books. I've got another one coming out. Now, if I would have gone into the bookstore and looked at the leadership section, and my books are in that area, and looked at all the books and all the authors and all of that stuff, I could have easily said, no one is ever going to buy my book because all of these books are here. But I realized early on, it's like, yeah, but you know what? Yes, all these books are here, but how many people have said, I want to write a book, but they don't? They don't take that step. It's not easy. It takes time. There's a lot of effort. There's a lot of things to do. And of course, with self-publishing, it's a lot easier than it used to be. And you can get an audience, and if you market it properly, because people, again, need to know that you have a book. It's like, ooh, I have a book. Well, unless I tell somebody and actually it starts being seen, no one's going to know that I have a book. Or if I spend money on marketing or advertising to promote it, then some people will go, oh, okay, he has a book. What's this about? But again, it's one of those things where consistency is a big thing, and just continue to do the work. If it's quality work that you're doing, then just be consistent at it and understanding, like you said, it's going to take time. How much time? as long as it needs to take, and it'll be longer than you want it to be, but if your success will come to you sooner than you think, if you're consistent and your messaging is spot on.
100%. Totally agree with that.
So if an entrepreneur comes to you and says, help, here's my product or service, what are some red flags for you to go? I know you alluded to them a little bit earlier, but what are some of the red flags for you to go, I can't help you because you're not ready? What are some of those things that you've seen?
Yeah. So, obviously some of the stuff we talked about before, making sure that they've already validated their product in the market, making sure that they understand that, marketing online, it's not that there's a secret formula that one person has. It's very similar to all the other facets of your business where hard work is going to beat anything, anytime, and as long as you have the right framework. And so some of the red flags is making sure that the entrepreneurs, the business owners that we meet, are ready to invest in that, right? I essentially call it your best salesman. And I always give the example of, again, we hit the ground running right when we start. We typically put our processes in place. And so within a week or two, we're already seeing better results than anybody else has provided them before. But I always give them the example of like, hey, if you're to hire a salesperson and maybe they're the best salesperson how long do you think it would take them to ramp up to where they're selling your product, insanely and, all the time? And people understand that analogy because, I do personally, because I've built a sales team before, and it usually takes several months for that salesperson, even if they're the best one in the world, to come on board, get to understand the brand, get to understand the tone, get to understand the customers, get to understand where the customers are falling off, why aren't they converting, get to understand the messaging, and then being able to take that and, pour gasoline on it per se, and scale out someone's business. And so one of the number one things we walk away from or turn down is when an owner or an entrepreneur does not understand the, not monetary investment, but just what goes into executing this on a very high level, and making sure if their expectations are overnight success, that we walk away from that, because we're not looking for overnight success results. We're looking for long-term partners, and long-term partners know that any department or division takes time to build up as long as there's trust on equal sides. So that's a big part of us, which is why a lot of our clients have come from relationships, because that's who's vouched for us. And I don't even think we've ever done cold prospecting because it's not necessary.
That's awesome. That's awesome stuff. And the advice you've given me and, and everybody that listens to my show is just pure gold, because oftentimes, again, we have this product, we strongly believe in it, we feel it's going to change the world, and quite frankly, for many of us, it will. But we have to be ready, and we have to be consistent, we have to be patient, and getting our message, to the right audience with the right framework and everything else. It's been awesome. So where can people find out more about your business and you and go from there?
Yeah, absolutely. So www.unstoppable.co, that's our company. If you Google Will Deane, or you go to Facebook and you Google Will Deane, or Instagram at Will Deane, you'll be able to look me up, reach out to me, or will@unstoppable.co. And always open to talking to other entrepreneurs, and absolutely.
That's great. And audience will definitely have all that information in the show notes. So again, Will, thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate you. And again, your patience. We had to reschedule this a few times, audience, because of my travel schedule and furniture removal and a variety of other fun stuff. But life happens, but we were able to navigate it, and I'm glad that we were able to connect today. So Will, thank you again for being on the show.
Absolutely, Michael. Pleasure being here. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. And until next time, everybody, be well. Hey, it's Michael again. Thank you for listening to the podcast. I really appreciate it. If you're like many people, you're dealing with some significant stress and possibly approaching burnout. I know how you feel. In 2009, my burnout led to a year of worst-case scenarios. I do not want that to happen to you. If you go to breakfastleadership.com, you can register for a free webinar on burnout prevention, as well as get a free checklist to have successful mornings. Start off each day the right way. Again, that's at breakfastleadership.com. Also, since you are a loyal podcast listener, I'm asking you to like, rate, and review my podcast on iTunes. I look at all the reviews and appreciate your comments, and it helps other potential listeners discover the content I have on the show. I appreciate you, and thanks again for listening.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.